Friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead, and today we're going to darn a sock. Okay, here again is the sock we've been working on. Here is our thin spot. Now, I've done holes bigger, and this obviously is not going to last. One poke, and that's all it takes. This is a marble egg, and I use it instead of my old light bulb. I finally saw one of these at a store, and I picked it up. So here is our sock egg inside our sock, and I have a nice length of yarn on my darning needle. Now what you want to do is you want to go past the spots where it is thin. Okay, and I'm using this thread or yarn because it's what I got, and it'll be easier for you to see. So we're going to go to the first row. That is the strongest, and we're going to follow it all the way up to just past where the weakest link is on the cross piece. And we're going to weave our yarn in and out through. Now what we're doing basically is we're building a patch, and we want, again, where we started, where it was woven in and out above the weakest top part of the top, we want it past the weakest part of the bottom. And all I've done, as you can see, is woven my yarn in and out through the parallel stitches along the way. Now we're going to go turn our sock around. Whoops. I'm going to turn our sock around, and we're going to go crosswise through the stitches all the way over until we get to the strongest part of the other side of the hole. Then back down, weaving in and out on the other side. We're basically framing in the hole so that we can start a weave. And once again, we're going to go back across the only place that's left, which is up near the toe. And we're just going to weave our needle in and out back to the original weave. See where we've left that? And we're going to do one more run through the original first line, but what we're going to do is we're going to do every other stitch. Can you see how I'm doing that? Every other stitch opposite from the original. Now that we have the first one doubled, we can just snip off that tail, and now our hole is framed in, and we can begin the weaving process. So just below our top one, we go one row down, and again we weave, but this time we are going to weave the opposite way from the stitches that we did on the row before. And what this does is that, again, this builds a foundation for your weaving, because weaving is what we're doing. We're weaving in a patch. So now I'm going to go along the next one here, back and forth all the way down to just shy of your first row frame. Now what we're doing is we're working our way towards the hole so that by the time we get to the hole, we've already strengthened the base. Now this isn't a good sock to do this, to show you on, because this yarn's actually quite thick. And again, always going over and under opposite. If you see this stitch before is over the stitch, it's been woven over top. So I'm going to go behind my stitch and bring it out, and I'm going to go under this stitch and over the next one opposite of the one I did before. Now, if you run out of stitches, don't worry, because this is where the weaving comes in. Now that we've got a nice framework, we're just going to go back and forth, starting with the stitch that we actually made from our base. And we're going to go back and forth, and if you hit a gap, just go right over it to the next semi-solid stitch and weave it down to your original frame. Make sure you give it a stretch every once in a while so you're not bunching it all up in a hole. And again, back and across, opposite of the row we did before. And like I said, if there is no stitch to grab onto, bypass it. You'll have a nice big long stitch there, but that's okay because we're going to weave across. And if you have to, you can always go back one more stitch into the framework you set yourself so that you have something to grab onto. See, this is stitches over, so this one's we're going to go over this one and under this one, all the way up to your first really strong stitch. It may seem tedious, but like I've said before, hand knit socks take a lot of time to make. You don't want to throw them out just because they have a hole. These are not made in China, store-bought crappy socks. And now we're all getting back into the area where the stitches are more solid. Okay, see, here's our original frame, and here we are across here. So now we are going to do one more row into the more solid stitches, and we only have the gap of one row in between the original framework and this. So I'm going to go behind the first solid stitch that we left in our framework, and we're going to weave. And this should be our last weave because now we're on solid ground again. Okay? Now this is kind of delicate because you don't want to make a patch that's too thick. So it might be a good idea to use a yarn that is lighter weight, which I'm doing, than the original. Otherwise, you're going to have a big thick callus of a patch, sort of. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to go back over. We're going to sink our needle, and we're going to go back over to the side now of our framework. And we are going to weave the stitches we've built back and forth, in and out, under, over, all the way across to the original framework that we pieced in for stability. So we've just woven in this way, and now we're coming back. This stitch, oops, this I went under. So now I'm going to go behind it, and I'm going to go over that area of stitch. And you can see by the white that I have, actually, I am weaving now with the white thread in the base that I wove up and down across before. It's just very basic weaving. Just remember to put your stitches over and under opposite of the row before so that you get a proper weave. And now we are back up to the very top where our original framework that we put in so that we would have something to weave to. And there it is. We can take our egg out. And if you don't have an egg, use an incandescent light bulb. Anything round. Obviously not like an apple or anything. It's got to be hard. Okay, so I'm going to put my hand in here. Now, it doesn't look beautiful because I didn't have the right colors. But as you can see, I can't stick my finger through there now. That's a nice solid patch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it one more weave on the top patch, part of the patch, where the original framework was put in for strength. I'm going to take my yarn, and like I did when I grafted the toe, I'm just going to take my yarn here and I am going to weave it in and out up the length of the side of the toe, just so it doesn't come unraveled if it gets pulled on. We don't want all your lovely patchwork wrecked. Then we go back down the other side, pull, snip your yarn, give it a tug, and there. We re-knitted the toe, and we patched that hole. This is once again a perfectly usable, wearable hand knit sock. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, remember folks, hand knit socks take a lot of time and a lot of love. Don't throw them out if they get a hole. Learn how to fix them.